Welcome back to the Love Inspired Leadership Podcast. Both Robyn and I are super grateful that you are here to hear our really meaningful conversation today about how the hidden cost of conflict can do to us and what it really is telling us and the truth. So I'm intrigued, inspired, and I just like our audience to know that we are grateful that you've made the decision to be here and that you're curious about our conversation today. So I would like to introduce Robyn to you. And Robyn, thank you for saying yes to be on the Love Inspired Leadership Podcast. So,
thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's going to be good. So Robyn McTague, is that how you say your last name?
Very good.
Well, sometimes I get it right. So is a true conflict resolution specialist. She's also a speaker who helps individuals and couples and teams turn tension into connection. Oh, ask me how much I love that. Oh my goodness, that's so powerful. So what Robyn does is she blends psychology, counseling, and deep-lived experience in her own life to support people in breaking patterns of unresolved conflict to build those healthier and more authentically honest relationships. So as the founder of a life of choice, her work is grounded in curiosity, compassion, and the belief that conflict, when approached with awareness, can lead to even deeper clarity and growth. So if you're an entrepreneur, a founder who just feels the weight of that unspoken tension and the heaviness that's exhausting you from those repeating conflict situations that strain the relationships in your life and your business, this episode is the key to open the door to possibility, to answers, to solutions, to freedom, to show you what conflict might really be telling you. So I am very curious where we're going to go today, Robyn. Just saying, this is also my lane of joy because I think that we can avoid all suffering and, stress and just the heaviness of exhaustion that people live in when they can find answers. And I know that you have some today for our audience. So can you take us to that period of time that you realized that you were totally drawn into this world of conflict resolution and that it became purposeful, your passion grew and evolved to support people through that tension and relationship strain?
Yeah, for me, the growing up was seeing conflict as either or, as two extremes. My dad was rageaholic, alcoholic, sexual abuser. My mom was mentally ill and suicidal. So there was no in between. So like many people, I grew up passive aggressive. It would build up and then explode. And I didn't know how to deal with anger or any of my emotions really. And I was having existential conversations with myself as a 12-year-old about why are some people aware and others aren't. And so this was always, how I dealt with the world was through my intellect. And then 26 years ago this year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that opened up the emotional part that I'd hidden. So that really started to give me more confidence once I started to deal with the past and dealt with all the stuck emotions. Yes. And I'd always had that advocacy kind of view of the world. I did union work, I did joint committee work, and that's what I loved, was really bringing people together. And I'm also an Enneagram teacher, and so that seeing that worldview that I have of bringing awareness where we often think we're aware, but the studies show 95% of people believe they're aware. It's about 10 to 15%. So when we can bring in tools to do that, then it just opens up a whole new view of what we can do with it. So for me, it was, when I trained in conflict resolution and found different ways and understood emotions and choices, and because I'd always thought I had choice because of all the trauma and getting past it to finish high school, even to university, all these things that people in my family hadn't been able to do. So it was a continual growth pattern from that trauma to seeing, well, if I can do it, our past and our personality doesn't have to define us, and we get to have that choice.
So I just want to reiterate what you said, and I want to drop this truth, is that we do have a choice. I want the audience to realize that was this woman who gave me this key when I was 18 years old, taught me a process called thinking above the line. It's a line of decision that we do have choice. And I knew that I wanted to interview you today for a reason. My mom suffered from schizophrenia and my father suffered too. So I had the same two extremes growing up as well. And the gift that I received is this purpose and passion, the same as yours. I've translated it specifically to women and around authentic identity and being bold and brave to live a life that matters and that's meaningful, personally and professionally. But I love your bravery. I love your open-mindedness. I love you've taken this intellect of the practical aspects of these tools and strategies that you learned, and you've translated that from your head and you brought them into your heart, because I can feel it. So I want the audience to realize that this conversation is for you. If you are struggling with your current position, if you related to Robyn's story or even mine, I want you to get your pen out. I want you to get ready, and you can replay this as many times as you want to receive the guidance, the tools and the strategies, because we all deal with conflict outside of ourselves. And it's these tools that make the biggest difference. And what I love in the language in which you position yourself, Robyn, is I can feel this soul-driven living legacy that you are living. This is your calling. This is your way to make a difference in the world. And you are doing it, and I know it. And you have some real wisdom to share. So let's explore what it is to understand that shapes the way you help leaders and business owners meet conflict differently today than they did in the past. So can we dive in there?
Sure. And the thing is, we all come with our history. And what happens is we take things personally. And so we get reactive. And so learning those tools around being able to take that breath, and instead of judgment, which we judge ourselves the strongest, but also other people, can we step back and say, can I get curious about this? And one of the best lines I learned in conflict resolution training, all behavior makes sense. So be curious. It makes sense to them. So how can I open it up to find out what's going on with them? So instead of judging them or believing they need to do things the way that we do, understand what's going on. And because we have different motivational profiles, I can actually look at them both individually and as a team to say what's going on. Maybe a certain leader is very strong in being the director, so they're not as open to bringing other people in and have a hard time delegating. someone else is really relational based and want to help so much and they're feeling like they're shut out. So these are just a couple of examples of what we can do when we understand where people are coming from and those different ways of communication, whether it's bottom line or more relational based, which relationships take time. So lots of information, very grounded, very loyal, consistency is really important. And in these times of fast change, those people can be really struggling, especially if your business or your leaders are not being really upfront and transparent about what's going on. They're going to start to feel left out, and these are the people that will leave your organization. And we know the cost of that.
Exactly. And it's often hidden, all of this, that there is not a consciousness or awareness that this is happening behind the scenes. And, I think it's a place of safety, of honoring vulnerability and truth. And what I love that you said, the key word is in so much alignment with what my mentor taught me, gave me this key of thinking above the line. The first level is being decided on curiosity, open-minded, and accepting of what is. And that's exactly what you're saying, So the audience, I just want you to realize that what Robyn's speaking of is truth. And I just want you to let it land and, reach out to her or reach out to me if you want to, is those places in those relational challenges. There are answers, there are solutions. And this perspective of what conflict is, we can change. We can transform ourselves. And I want to give you permission to do that. And sometimes that's what it takes. And we're not meant to do this alone. We it's like, Robyn, you said you didn't learn this as a young person. It's become your living legacy. And you see the transformation in the relationships, in the organizations, in the couples. They circle back to loving each other. And, I started this podcast for these conversations of truth because there are solutions. I mean, this is what I journaled about this morning even. So I love it. So tell me about a life of choice. What is really some of your key elements of your framework in the journey that you take people? I'd like to give them the audience, some, tangible, practical next steps that they can implement into their daily practice.
A lot of it is understanding that because many business leaders and entrepreneurs, especially, are really high growth. So they're looking at the future so much, right? The shiny object and what's next. That if we're so focused on the future, what's going on with relationship and achievement motivators. So having your own map for your individual self, for your couple, for your team, helps you to see where you are. So you look for that sweet spot of where both of those areas are being covered. It's not just change for change's sake. It's not just digging in your heels about keeping the past, so that you can open up that dialogue and understand each other. And so very simple thing you can do when those triggers happen, because we all have them, and these are patterns that we bring forward with doing all the different things I do. It's like looking at those patterns from our childhood, from our experiences, to say, I get to choose that differently now that I see it. Mm-hmm. But like you say, we can't see it, like we're the fish in the fishbowl inside the picture frame, whatever metaphor you want to use. But it's like, where are my feet right now? Taking that breath. And it's like, and taking a time out. We talk about it with kids, but adults are just big kids. So do I need a time out? I'm too triggered to talk about it. We know that physiologically, we need that time to get away just take that breath, get a fresh air, water, whatever it is for us to just help us ground. And then we can come back or set up that meeting at a different time. So very tangible things that we can do like that. The other thing I do is with the Enneagram work, we talk about a 3-centered practice, which I do every morning. So we have body, heart, and head intelligence centers. And we tend to overuse one. And a lot of the strategies that we used when we're younger might not serve us anymore. So being able to look at that in a helpful way, not in a blaming way, is just, this is what I learned, and we need to accept we're all human, right? We tend to think that people think the same. It's not true. And when we open that up and when we can say, oh, we all have these experiences. Yeah, the shame that I took on that isn't mine, or, that embarrassment, whatever it is, so that we understand it's all part of the human condition. We learn to do relationship repair when things do get off track, because it's going to happen. We need to get over ourselves and say, yes, we're human.
It's the humanness in life. It's the humbleness of life that is really our opportunity to surrender to what is. Emma, who gave me this key, always, and I've been learning what she's been teaching me for 40 years, more, is she always said to me, what is Carolyn. And at 18, I went, what are you talking about? And now I know it is to accept what is to realize I have this opportunity to make a choice and to pause, exactly what you said. Take a breath, step back, take a moment. In my framework, above the line and below the line thinking, it's that moment in time that I can just stop and I can breathe. And if I need to cry, that's above the line. I'm going to be curious what the truth is here and look at that, and then be able to just settle in, reground. It's exactly what you said. And then make a decision based on love, based on respect, based on forgiveness, no judgment. That's below the line. No blame, nothing. So it's so clean. And, with what you're bringing in, what is just so in alignment with what my mission is to support people to end suffering. It's a decision. And I think
for sure.
Well, it is. So to me, this alignment that Robyn is speaking of is love in motion. It's when we get stuck, when we get stagnant. It's when we see conflict as a failure, and it's simply feedback. And
learning boundaries, right? Which we didn't learn. I mean, our parents didn't have it, we didn't. So what happens is, like if we look at anger, which is one of, anger and grief are the two emotions that our society does not deal with well. But it starts with resentment, frustration, and builds into anger. And so when we can see that earlier and understand it's just giving us feedback and information of a boundary being crossed or not feeling like you've been treated well, like you say, respect, then that really can shift things.
I mean, what we're talking about here is profound truth. And I want the audience to realize this can be your opportunity to come back to who you are. I mean, that's what been my experience of my life. I feel like as a child growing up, that was my old identity. Now I have this incredible honor and opportunity to live my life with my authentic identity, which is love, compassion, respect, honor for myself and everybody else. So I want it for the world. So I'm so grateful for your gifts here today, Robyn. Thank you. So let's look at conflict as the catalyst for growth. So, when you imagine this ripple effect of your work, helping people turn tension into connection, what kind of legacy do you hope that you have the honor to leave with the lives, the leaders and teams that you serve?
That we learn to accept that it starts with us, that the internal tensions, the internal conflict, that curiosity needs to start with ourselves as to what's going on with me before we look externally. But that's not how we're taught in our world, right? It's looking outside, projecting it out onto others or things, these things, and we objectify people. We lump them into groups. In the Enneagram world, we call it about othering people. And we see that in racism, different things. But it's a continuum like anything. So just even these small things, they're the janitorial staff, or they're the this, right? So we lump people together, and we need to decouple that to say, okay, I'm curious what goes on with me, and understanding myself and what's important to me helps me to want to know that about other people, because then I can see where we align, like what are the things that we're both, we all have basic needs. How we express that is unique. And so having that ability to step back, to really look at ourselves and then be open. We don't have to like everyone, right? That even in the workplace, but it's like I can still be competent, respectful, and deal with my own triggers, because that's my responsibility. And I see that, I became overly responsibility for my lifetime, but learning what is responsibility, right? So I'm not taking on theirs, they're not taking on mine. We can have these clean, and this is what I love about dealing with conflict in this way, is like we can both come from our truth. We're not blaming other people. We're just saying, this is what's important to me. And the map helps us to have that neutral language. What's important to you? And this is what the organization needs. Are people in the right fit for the role? Is the team made up of the people that I need in that particular team? Like everything to me is context. So we can't just have that blanket statements anymore. It's people are complex, they're unique, but our basic human needs are the same. And that's why we kind of look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of dealing with our basic needs, and then go up to that self-actualization. And so where are people on that? What are their communication needs? What are their change capacities? All of those things.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I just want to let the audience know that I created the Love Inspired Leadership podcast for this exact reason, to free women, to free people in relationship, to feel the love between each other in relationship, and have incredible people like Robyn to bring her wisdom, her knowledge, her purpose, her passion here. Second of all, I created the Aim High method specifically for women, and it's truth, alignment, and radiance. Because when we have made the decision to focus on what matters most and be human and accept that in ourselves and other people, I love what you had to say about that too. So thank you. I mean, your message is such a gift to my audience. And, you have a beautiful voice that is so calming, and it's grounded, and it lands for people. So I know your mission to go from conflict to connection is happening in the world. I think that people are walking through that doorway of deeper truth, trust, and healing in working with you. And I thank you for your compassion and your love-inspired leadership. Now, how can the audience connect with you and be able to take a next step with you?
The website is thelifeofchoice.ca, because I am in Canada. And there is a freebie that I'll give you the link to, and that's for a meditation to look at our relationships. And it's kind of in segments. So I really like to build in safety to everything I do. So you can do a part of it and then come back to it. So it's something you can come back to it again and again when you get those relationship triggers, like spend some time with yourself kind of looking at that.
I mean, that's a gift in itself. I just journaled this morning, go within to win. And that's one of my mantras I have said for a whole year to really support myself on this journey. So thank you for your generous gift. And for the audience, once again, I want to let you know that I have my gift for you, which is the 21-day sacred insight journey of living above the line. And it is your gift to greater purpose, presence, and also peace of mind in your love-inspired leadership. So, Robyn, thank you for saying yes to be on this podcast. I knew it was going to be great. So I feel honored and blessed at this moment, bringing this incredible wisdom to my audience. So thank you very much. For years, you've been the woman who holds it all together. The team, the clients, the launch, the household. But lately, the cost is your nervous system, your sleep, your joy. You're leading on adrenaline, overthinking every decision, breaking quiet promises to yourself just to keep everything afloat. The Aim High Sanctuary is where that ends. This is where you remember who you are, and structure your life around that truth, and lead from regulated energy, clean boundaries, and honest power. Book in a clarity call with me through the link below or by scanning the QR code, and join us in the Aim High Sanctuary. Thank you for joining me on the Love Inspired Leadership Podcast. If today's episode stirred something in your soul, share it with someone who's ready to aim higher. Keep holding your vision, anchor in your truth, and take intentional, inspired action, because love is all there is.
Hey, I'm Michelle Abraham, founder of the High Vibe Podcast Network, and we are honored to have Carolyn Cooper's Love Inspired Leadership show as part of our network family. For more inspiring shows like this one, visit highvibepodcastnetwork.com, and don't forget to grab your free gifts from our hosts in the gift folds. Till then, stay high vibe and keep sharing your life.